I'm kind of surprised that Prigozhin hasn't been assassinated yet, honestly. And that nobody slipped him polonium 205 or
Well, we can talk about that because there's a command unity benefit of him. I think that's sort of the modern lessons learned is um, careful for the ant colony fragmentation because you wind up draining huge resources if you start having, I mean, in essence, warlords. Because you look at his top 100 subcommanders and let's say his top 10, which he's done a pretty good job of protecting in the mass public. Obviously, amongst the Ministry of Defense and all the top leadership, they know who those top 10, 20, you know, um, micro warlord commander leaders he has. And, attempting to guarantee unification of that loyalty starts costing a lot more than let's say kicking the can down the road of him, in another 6 months or a year or whatever. Then you can start to deal with that. Or let's say he has an accident with an Anderson Windows installation team or something like that. And
yeah.
I think he also has some information that could be revealed in case of his
Sure.
death, and I'm, that's so he has some collateral.
That's right.
That's almost certain that the reason why he's still alive.
Yep, totally agree. Totally agree. So
What kind of information would you think that would be? Do you think it's about Russian tactical positions? Do you think
No,
it's about
it's financial information. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
all of the operations that Wagner and other PMCs. I have some slides there discuss the 37 largest PMCs and that sort of ecosystem. And if you look at, let's just say how Russian financial engineering has been, implemented the last decade or so, probably more. That's quite a bit of, probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe of transactions. And, like think of the Panama Papers. If you remember that, this would be like the Russian papers version of the Panama Papers, which given the new mechanisms of social communication, whether it's Telegram type tools or other one, there's 4 or 5 that they're using in Russia now. Could the Russian state shut those down for a few days or a week or two? Sure. But, if they try to shut it down for 2 months, that'd be pretty difficult. Right. So just given the way.
But I walk through for me how that would be a problem because Russians already know that the oligarchs have massive amounts of money.
So
They know that they
there's something unique when we sort of in a gray zone way know things about somebody, and then versus there's that house, there's that Mercedes, there's that building, there's those people, and that type of more dense targeting. And I don't mean this in violent terms. I mean, it can be, but I mean, just in terms of social terms, would literally mean, you'd probably see tens of thousands of Russian elites would scurry out of the country, right? I mean, so then that becomes another thing to manage, right? At the end of the day, Russia's hyper focused, or trying to be hyper focused, on the wheels of power, keeping those going, the vertical power stack. This whole new financial reality of who they are as a country, going east instead of west, economically, and all those changes they're going to have to implement. And then thirdly, the Ukrainian war and the fight that they have there. And then maybe fourthly, their global, semi-global conflict with the West. And to throw on that, this sort of internal conflict dynamics, which tend to eat you away, because you have your own people that you have to start to, you basically have to rebuild your state power infrastructure. I mean, that's what it really would turn into. Think of it like when there's a bankruptcy or a big merger and acquisition in a company, and you got to, and they gut 3/4 of the management. I mean, you got to go out now and get thousands of new
people.
Yeah. And that's a challenge. It's an opportunity, for a whole bunch of other actors to prove their loyalty to the regime and so on. But it's work. It's not free, right? And you've got to, and to be honest, you could almost say this is like there's a term in technology or in business called technical debt. Like you could argue this is the technical debt of the Russian regime of the last 20 years, and they would have to go and implement a new cloud platform, which is all brand new software, people, everything, and that's very expensive while you in Ukraine, fighting the West, reorienting yourself to the East and other, regions of the world, the Middle East, et cetera, Africa, and then just, keeping the regime together and the power vertical structure. So, that's, and if the only cost is you outsourced it to Belarus for a year or two, and whatever, pay them another few $100 million a quarter or whatever, that's to kick the can down the road. That's a pretty cheap outcome to delay dealing with this over time. And potentially, go ahead.
I also, I think he has a lot of information that is personally embarrassing to Putin.
That too,
because Putin still enjoys support of the population, maybe less in Moscow and St. Petersburg, but in the country. Just to give you an example, to us, we pretty much know that Putin is the richest person in the world. He has this and that, but a lot of people, they don't believe that. They believe that no, he's he's not involved in robbing the country and all this stuff. So if this information becomes, with evidence becomes available, and there will be collapse of public opinion, that could be extremely damaging to Putin. I think that is very important thing. I don't think Prigozhin is interested to damage the stance of Russia in the world or the Ukrainian war. I don't think he wants to expose any of that. I think it is personally embarrassing to Putin and some of the elites that keeps him alive.
All right, I think. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think at this point, we should probably start. So one of the things, though, that I wanted to cover just before we did, I noticed that in the poll, nobody believes that Prigozhin wanted to overthrow the Russian government. Why do you think the U.S. media, for example, was confused on that point when, when we see a poll result of 0% here?
I mean, Greg, do you want me to answer, or do you want to go first?
It's very I don't know, honestly, to tell the truth. I think it was pretty clear he didn't name Putin. His grievances were against the army leadership. I don't know why people thought he would want to that's one of the reasons he agreed to turn around, because what would he do if he'd get to Moscow? He wouldn't be able to keep the power. He is not on that statue.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. By the way,